name is Jessica Collett, and for the Global Transportation Social Impact Project, I will be comparing Tesla and Toyota. I chose these two firms mostly for personal reasons. So, Tesla, I have a few stocks in their company. So, I just thought it would be interesting to kind of see how they leverage sustainability in their business model and basically get a little bit more insight into their success. As far as Toyota, I drive a Lexus as my everyday driver, which is a luxury brand owned by Toyota. So I just thought it would be good to kind of look into this company as a consumer and to see how they're using sustainability in their business practices as well. So today I'm going to go through the corporations themselves and how they leverage CSR, which is corporate social responsibility and sustainability, a brief history of each industry and each firm as well. I'm going to talk about stakeholders as well as their corporations and the definition of corporate sustainable responsibility as well. I'm going to discuss the issues and the compare and contrast these issues. There are also ethical reasoning methods and application to each company, alternative energy options. I'm also going to go through the Porter and Kramer articles and link those to the discussion. The ethical relativism, as far as each company goes, their globalization and sustainability measures in this sense, performance, environmental sustainability, their external analysis, internal analysis as well, the competitors, their strategic directions, and also implications for management, learning points, and key takeaways that can be taken from this comparison as well. Follow with references and a summary too. So basically, corporate social responsibility is when businesses integrate ethical, social, and environmental concerns into their operations. Sustainability is a focus on long-term environmental stewardship, which reduces negative impacts while ensuring economic viability. In the automotive sector, sustainability efforts include reducing carbon emissions, conserving natural resources, ethical sourcing, and transitioning to alternative energy solutions, such as EVs. For Tesla and Toyota, they're both very prominent automakers. They do prioritize sustainability, while obviously Tesla is a much more stereotypical sustainable practice. They are the biggest EV makers here in the US. They're known for making sustainable EVs. That's basically their whole thing. They do take different paths in achieving these goals, though. Toyota has made more sustainable practices into their business that have really helped them remain competitive throughout the years as well. So, a brief history of the automotive industry basically started in 1885. Carl Benz developed the first gasoline-powered car. While there's different sources that argue this fact, saying that other people have basically been accredited with inventing the first car, it does seem that Carl Benz is the most widely accredited, so it's the one that I chose to use here. Following this, in the early 1900s, we have Henry Ford, which introduced mass production, making automobiles widely accessible. So basically, with the assembly line and the mass production that was created by Henry Ford, automobiles became accessible everywhere. And it really spread automobiles. Other companies began to use this. It was very revolutionary. By the 1990s, General Motors had experimented with electric vehicles, and they actually released one that was considered pretty successful for the time. It didn't last very long and it wasn't widely adopted, but it really introduced the electric vehicles to the public eye and made it seen that they could be widely adopted in the future. And then in the early 2000s, hybrid technology gained popularity, which was led by Toyota Prius in 1997. It was the first hybrid vehicle that they had introduced, and it really just showcased that there are economic ways that sustainability can be used in the automotive industry. And since then, obviously, there's a lot more hybrid vehicles other than just the Prius. And more recently, the 2010s and the present, Tesla basically has revolutionized the industry. They made EVs mainstream, and other competitors like Toyota and obviously also other EV companies have really took a note of this, and this has really accelerated sustainability initiatives across the board with traditional automotive makers, as well as new companies that are emerging in the market that want to get a piece of this pie and introduce more sustainable measures as well. So, for Tesla specifically, they were founded in 2003 by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. They're both engineers, essentially, but the company was later led by Elon Musk. So, as we know today, Elon Musk is the face of Tesla, but he was actually just an early investor that really believed in the company, and he already had some success with PayPal and other different things. So, he really was able to enter into that company, give them money for investment, but also lead Tesla to success. So their main mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. It's their entire business model. Their key sustainability practices are 100% electric vehicle lineup. So they don't have any traditional internal combustion engines at all. So they save basically carbon emissions in that way. They also have other renewable energy solutions such as solar panels and battery storage systems. Obviously, also they have their charging stations that they use for their Tesla EVs as well, which are supposed to be sustainably sourced as well. They also have closed loop battery recycling, which minimizes waste and environmental damage. This basically means that they use their old batteries to create new batteries. So that's very helpful in that sense. We also have gigafactories powered by renewable energy that reduces manufacturing emissions in their factories as well. So they really maintain sustainability throughout all of their practices. As far as Toyota, they've been around much longer. They were founded in 1937 by Kishiro Toyota, and he basically made Toyota today has become the world's largest automaker. As far as their production, they produce a lot of vehicles, they sell a lot of vehicles. They're in areas across the globe. They're very expanded. So that makes them the world's largest automaker, essentially. They also boast this on their own website, and they claim that they're also the largest automaker. They have a large market share as well. As far as sustainability efforts, they're a really big key player in hybrid leadership. You know, the 1997 Prius launch was very revolutionary for fuel efficiency in this sense. Their diverse approach has been by expanding from hybrids to plug-in hybrids, battery EVs, and hydrogen fuel cells. They're not very big in the EV market currently. The hydrogen fuel cells are also still in development, but they are making those steps to get there. And they have initiatives such as the Challenge 2050 goals, which aims to cut CO2 emissions by 90% and achieve carbon neutrality. They also have the Beyond Zero initiative, which focuses on holistic approach to reducing environmental impact beyond vehicle emissions. So while they have been traditional vehicles that are gasoline driven, they are taking these steps to enter into the EV market and compete with these new companies such as Tesla. So the stakeholders for each company are honestly basically the same. Primary stakeholders for each obviously are employees and workforce. A company cannot continue to be a company if they don't have people working there. So that's why employees and workforce are very important. They also both preach about fair labor practices and really maintaining a good culture for their employees and workforce, which are very important to their business. Also, customers, if they can't sell vehicles, they're not going to get any revenue. So, customers are very important. Customers have a growing demand for eco-friendly vehicles, and they want innovation and they want sustainable production, which is another reason that they're really focusing on these things so they can keep customers, get more customers, essentially primary stakeholders. Investors and shareholders are very big primary stakeholders as well. If companies want to experience long-term financial stability, it's very important that they adhere to principles that stakeholders and investors are looking for, such as environmental, social, and governance principles. Those are very important so that they can continue to operate. Secondary stakeholders. Now, these are ones that I found on the Toyota website specifically. Toyota has a very diverse and in-depth website. They provide a lot of information. So they actually provided some secondary stakeholder information, but they are the same for Tesla as well. We have suppliers, so the people that supply each company's materials. Then we have local communities. Those are very important because each factory or manufacturing facility that they have in the communities really affects the community there. We can see this as Toyota has taken a lot of steps to implement funding in communities for community projects and just to better the community that they're located in. There is also regulatory bodies. So governments worldwide impose strict regulations, whether it's in regards to emission or pushing automakers towards sustainability. So it's really important that automakers are able to follow these regulations and rules. They have to manufacture them in a way that can be sold and are following these rules as well. So that makes them secondary stakeholders. And here we have graphs that Tesla provided. It basically shows dividends reports for 2024 to showcase valid stakeholder information. So if we see here, they're from 2020 all the way to 2024. What really stood out to me about these was the dividend payout ratio that we see in 2023 had a major hike. So I looked into this, and basically from what I could find, that year was pretty good for Toyota as far as their sales of hybrid vehicles. People just really wanted these hybrid vehicles, so they actually sold quite a bit that year and added to their increase in sales. I think one thing that I'm seeing too from the graph is where it went down. I'm assuming that's probably from COVID. I know a lot of um, dealerships and everything had closed down during this time. People weren't buying things as much, not just cars, but in general. People weren't going outside as much. They didn't really need to buy cars at this time. So I think that definitely attributes to the dips that we see here from about 2020 even to 2022. So we also have issues with sustainability. So one thing that's a big issue is figuring out how to reduce carbon emissions. Tesla has done this by implementing or by eliminating internal combustion engines entirely. So they are purely EVs. They don't even really worry about carbon emissions when it comes to their vehicles in that sense. Toyota, though, is a traditional vehicle maker, but they have been balancing this with hybrids, electric, and hydrogen technologies to try to achieve more carbon neutrality. As well, we have conserving water issues. So Tesla has implemented closed loop water recycling in their manufacturing, which is also a good sustainability measure. So basically, they don't keep getting fresh water. They basically use their old water and figure out ways to clean that so they can use it again when they're making their products or cleaning them or whatever they use water for in their facilities. Toyota is also reducing water usage in production. So they're trying to use less or, only use the necessary amounts. And they contribute to local water conservation projects. So they provide a lot of funding to the communities around them to help with saving water in that sense. They also have issues with material flow and reducing waste in this sense. So Tesla recycles their batteries and is shifting towards biodegradable materials. So they are trying to make that shift. They're not fully there. They still, nothing is ever perfect. They still have some issues with the materials they use for batteries, such as lithium and other more scarce materials. But recycling the batteries and using these biodegradable materials is definitely a good step. So Toyota also has done this as well by using plant-based plastics in their facilities and also promoting a circular economy in their supply chain. So they're both really trying to utilize that recycling approach. As far as protecting biodiversity, Tesla reduces reliance on fossil fuels to mitigate economical damage. So they protect biodiversity in that way, the way that they produce these successful EVs that don't require fossil fuels. Toyota is also doing this by engaging in reforestation and wildlife conservation projects. So Toyota is a big funding area for different things to help protect biodiversity. While they might not be as direct, they really try to implement that in the community and the world, essentially, since they have different facilities everywhere. As far as ethical reasoning, we have justice, utilitarian, utilitarianism and rights. So, for justice, it's when sustainability efforts relate to fairness and equality, ensuring a cleaner environment for all. So, Tesla focuses on reducing carbon emissions, but they still use those rare materials for batteries, which can also be difficult to mine. It leads to difficult mining conditions for workers as well. So, it talked about before, this can be lithium and other things that they use in their batteries. Toyota is also working to lower emissions, but they have been much slower in this transition, which does raise concerns about the affordability and distribution of their EVs in the future. As far as utilitarianism, we have ethical focus on promoting growth and happiness for all. Both companies do aim to improve the future, but they have some challenges here that we did discuss earlier. Tesla's material use and Toyota's slow adoption, they really kind of hinder this improvement in the future. They make it a lot slower. As far as rights, it's when we protect the environmental rights and the rights of the communities that are affected. So both companies are working towards sustainability. Their issues do kind of face these rights in an opposing direction. It does raise concerns for future generations and the communities around them. There has been issues that have come up with facilities such as Tesla and Toyota as well, but they are taking these steps to try to remain as sustainable as possible. As far as ethical relativism, it basically means that morals and ethics vary across cultures and regions. So companies need to follow rules, policies, and practices of the areas in which they operate and sell. Toyota has done this very well. So we see Toyota across the globe. They've expanded very much across the globe, but they also have a different type of diverse approach. So they have the hybrids, they have EVs now, they have their traditional vehicles, they have plug-in hybrids. They have a little bit of everything when it comes to options. So in some countries where electricity might not be as readily available, it could probably be pretty hard to have EVs that widely spread, especially if there's no charging ports. I mean, you can't even run the vehicle without having a place to charge it. So this is where hybrid vehicles and traditional vehicles come into play. It might be the only option for these people in other areas. So Toyota has really taken ethical relativism and used it to their advantage here. They have varied sustainability options, and these do align better with different cultural preferences. So people have a choice here. They also are very economical in their prices. So a lot more people can afford to drive Toyotas than they can driving Teslas. So Tesla is a newer company and they are still expanding globally, but their primary focus is on EVs, which is good for sustainability. But as far as diversity goes in ethics and ethical relativism, this isn't very diverse. I mean, people that want options other than EVs don't really have those options. Tesla's also very expensive, which limits their customer base as well. So, alternative energy strategies, well, both of these companies use that. So, Tesla obviously has their battery powered vehicles, they have solar technology, and they have charging accessories that are alternative energy sources compared to harmful fossil fuels. A challenge that they do have, however, is the amounts of lithium and other rare earth metals that they use in their batteries is a challenge that is posed by alternative energy strategies. But they have taken steps to try to reduce this. As we talked about before, they use closed loop battery recycling. So it kind of reduces the amount of mining that they have to keep doing by using their old materials. Toyota also is diversifying with hybrids, plug-in hybrids, hydrogen cells, and battery EVs. So they're utilizing alternative energy strategies as well. But they are facing the challenge because it's a very slow transition. Toyota is still definitely known for their traditional vehicles and their hybrids. Their EVs haven't really entered the market that well. They do have some, but they're not very notable, as we'll get into later, as far as competitors and EV market shares. Also, their hydrogen fuel cell infrastructure is very underdeveloped, which limits widespread adoption. They are really trying to implement that. It's just it's a new technology. So it's hard to say when it'll come about. It's very expensive as they're testing these technologies. So it is something that they're trying to do, but there will be more problems with that in the future as they keep continuing to work on their hydrogen fuel cell technology. So as far as Porter and Kramer articles, we have the 2006 Strategy and Society, the link between competitive advantage and CSR. Basically, it emphasizes integrating CSR into your business strategy to maintain competitive advantage. So I immediately think of Toyota when I hear this because they are a longstanding traditional vehicle company that has begun to incorporate sustainability practice into their business to remain competitive and to remain at the top of the market. So obviously they have their hybrid technology has been very successful. And they're doing this by balancing profitability in their competition as well. They're trying to enter more into the EV realm. So they're really utilizing sustainability as a business approach. And in 2011, they also had an article called Creating Shared Value, which proposes that businesses generate economic value while also addressing societal challenges. So immediately I think of Tesla because they align more with that article as its entire business model is essentially built on sustainability. So they're really using innovation and sustainability to drive their profits and also, they're advancing global environmental efforts at the same time. So they're really creating a shared value there on both fronts by utilizing basically everything in their business model. So the performance of each, they both do pretty good. Actually, Tesla has outsold every automobile company as far as these go in the most current year. So we can see, I just used quarter two for the revenue. I thought it was like a best comparison. So we have here for Tesla, they have 25,000 in the million. So it's quite, it's in the trillions. It's a lot. And then Toyota, we have their revenue here, but it's in yen. So the conversion scales do make it a little bit less. Toyota has surpassed their revenue, as I'll show in the graph following this as well. So Tesla's growth is really from their diverse revenue streams, mostly their EVs and their sustainability initiatives. They align with the global demand for greener solutions, which has really driven their success in the recent years. One notable release that I think of is the Cybertruck because it's known for its unique design and advanced features. They are limited and the amount that they made, and they're very expensive. So it's things like that that kind of keep Tesla in the media. It keeps them on top. It keeps people interested because they want to see these new things that this company is continuing to release. As far as Toyota goes, they have their hybrid vehicles as well as their traditional vehicles, which contribute significantly to their revenue. So although their revenue is lower than Tesla, they're larger than Tesla because they produce more vehicles. They are expanded across the globe and they're just a much larger company in that sense. Tesla vehicles are very expensive and they're expensive to produce, so they just can't produce as much as Toyota. Toyota has really got the production point down pat, and it reinforces the market shift towards sustainability in the auto industry by kind of seeing that Toyota is really trying to get into that EV landscape. So it's really showing that even companies that have success in the traditional automotive sense are realizing that sustainability is important and they need to start implementing it the best that they can if they want to remain profitable, basically. So here are the graphs for each one. If we see here, Toyota has, they have success, but they have some kind of like dips and they go up again, they have a dip again. Um, it's not as productive as we see Tesla here, where it's basically just gone up and up and up. And I would definitely say that the dips here in both of them, really, I mean, mostly Toyota, but I think they're probably attributed to the pandemic. And as we see here, after the pandemic, they have definitely both risen as far as that goes. And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of differences here, but just kind of shows kind of what you see with the sales of each and what they look like. So the next thing we'll talk about is the sustainable value portfolio. Now, this was developed by Hart, and basically it shows four quadrants for sustainability. We have clean technology, pollution prevention, product stewardship, and then the base of the pyramid is basically how sustainable practices align with the corporate vision. It's just talking about vision in general. So, two questions that a company might ask in that stage is, does our corporate vision direct us towards the solution of social and environmental problems? And does our vision focus us on serving the unmet needs at the base of the economic period? So, as far as these companies are concerned, I would say Tesla primarily fits in the clean technology quadrant. They focus on reducing environmental impact through their EVs and their energy solutions. So, they specifically put out clean technology. That's why they fit in that quadrant so well. They do have some scrutiny over scarce material usage, as we talked about, for their batteries. And there are some waste management issues. There's been some things in the news about Tesla in the past years with their factories kind of negatively impacting the environment around them, but they have really taken steps to avoid those issues. And an impact that Tesla noted on their website was that they report that 51 tons of CO2 emissions are avoided per vehicle over 17 years of use. So that's something they reported on their website, and that's a pretty good impact as far as environmental sustainability goes. For Toyota, they do emphasize pollution prevention and product stewardship more. Their initiatives include community sustainability programs, so these funding measures that they take in their community. They also have environmental challenges and improved manufacturing. They also do have an expanded lineup with their hybrids, their EVs, things that they're trying to implement to be more sustainable. They do face greater sustainability challenges due to their historical reliance on gas-powered vehicles. Traditionally, they have been around for a long time and they have sold many traditional vehicles that use gas. So their environmental footprint is a lot larger than that of Tesla. They're still trying to transition into that clean, sustainable environment, but they are still largely reliant on traditional vehicles and hybrids that still kind of utilize a little bit of both. So we're going to do an external and internal analysis of each company. So for Tesla, the external analysis really is their opportunity for global expansion beyond the US market. So they're very big in the US market, but in other markets, they have fallen short. For example, in Asia, there's a competitor that has arisen in the EV market called BYD, and this company has actually outsold Tesla in some quarters. Another external analysis is that there is a high demand for EVs present in that presents more growth opportunities. So Tesla has been innovative and they will continue to do that to really take advantage of those growth opportunities. They do face threats from rising competition, as we talked about with BYD and even traditional automakers as well, such as Toyota. They're trying to enter the EV market and they could become very big competitors in the future if they can do this successfully. They do have challenges, however, in supply chain and economic disruptions. This is with any company, really, as there's wars and different things that could disrupt the supply chain. If their suppliers can't provide materials, it could also disrupt their supply chain. And that's the same challenges that Toyota faces externally as well. Also, specific things for Toyota are their opportunity to further expand into the EV market, which could very vividly diversify the revenue stream if they're able to implement more EV technologies, which they're not super big into in this moment. They also face strong competition from other traditional automakers that have done EVs a lot better at this present moment, and new EV companies as well. On the internal side, Tesla has a strong brand image with a reputation for quality and very good innovation, basically. So they are known to be innovative. They have a lot of technologies. They put technological advancements into their EVs. They all look kind of futuristic. They have a lot of upgrades. They have a lot of different like touchscreens in there. Everything is just very electric, computerized. They do struggle to meet demands, leading to lower production rates. Teslas are expensive to buy and expensive to produce, so they just can't make as much. So the high prices make Tesla vehicles less accessible to broad consumer base. So if they're able to implement more affordable and versatile vehicle lineups, they could definitely appeal to a broader market. Also, as far as Toyota goes, they actually do this well. So they have affordable, versatile vehicle lineups, which does appeal to the broader market. They also have a strong reputation for reliability in vehicles. I feel like everyone has heard that if you get a Toyota, you can basically drive it to the ground 4 years and it will never really give you problems. So I know that they have a strong reputation for reliability in this sense, but they have a slow adoption of EV technology compared to their competitors. So a lot of competitors, even in traditional automakers, have done a lot better with this. They also have manufacturing defects and recalls that can damage consumer trust with their company. I have heard of a lot of vehicles from traditional automakers, even Tesla having consumer recalls, but I would say that Toyotas are still pretty reliable. Even with the recalls, they fix the problem and they go back. But I mean, I have a Lexus and it has never really given me issues compared to other vehicles that I've had. So I would say that as far as consumer trust goes, Toyota does actually still have this pretty well. So the market share here is actually the data set that I have provided is actually in reference to their revenue. So as we can see, Tesla here is number one. They have 1.4 trillion. Toyota is behind them at 231 billion. So it's a lot different, but this is only in comparison to their revenue. Tesla is growing quickly. People want EVs. Their vehicles are also very expensive. So they have really created a big revenue stream in this sense. Toyota is still considered bigger in the market as far as everything else goes, as far as production, because they're super expanded. They have produced way more, as you can see here. In 2003, Tesla only sold 1.8 million vehicles, still a lot. But in comparison, Toyota sold 11.2 billion vehicles in that same year. So quite a big difference there. Also, in 2004, Tesla held a 4.2% market share in the automobile realm, and Toyota in that same year had 10.7, which really solidifies them as the most extensive global car brand in that same year. And this obviously is not regarding their revenue. It's regarding everything that goes into the market share, including their production, their distribution, how many were sold, how how much they cover on the globe in general. So here we can see the global automotive market share in 2024, and this is in regards to production and everything like that. And we see Toyota here is way ahead of all of these other automakers in this sense. So that's where they get that extensive brand image that they like to post on their website too. And I also included this one to compare the EV market. Obviously, Tesla isn't a traditional automaker. They're an EV automaker, so it's kind of hard to fit them into a traditional automotive's market share. So, but if we look here, obviously, in the US, Tesla dominates all of these. But in the global market, we see BYD has actually beat Tesla. So this is where Tesla can leverage expansion to grow their market share. And if we look at the other ones, Toyota isn't even in this list because they have not really implemented the best EVs so far. They're still trying to, and hopefully in the future they do. And then we can see how their shares grow in the market for EVs. So, strategic direction that management can take is basically mostly as I just talked about, Tesla's expansion needs. They have rapid success, they have a lot of revenue, but they have not really expanded. They're still limited compared to Toyota. They're mostly in the US, but if they can expand into other countries, their market share will grow rapidly. I could definitely see with even what they've just done and where they are now, they could beat Toyota as far as extensive global automakers come. And as far as risk mitigation, A greater expansion would also help Tesla reduce risks from disruption, and it would strengthen their current market presence. So it would be very important for them to expand on multiple levels. Tesla should also broaden its customer base by expanding but offering more accessible price points. So Teslas are very expensive. Most people don't even want to spend the money to buy one when they could buy a traditional, reliable Toyota at less than half that price. So if Tesla was able to make more accessible price points, they would definitely diversify their customer range. And both companies honestly can learn from each other. Tesla can adopt Toyota's scalability, but Toyota can enhance their EV production and sustainability initiatives in the same way that Tesla has. So, future growth is basically that the demand for sustainability will continue to rise. Toyota should focus on making more innovative EVs to solidify their market strength in this area. Tesla has done very good. Toyota is falling behind. So, both can learn from each other to really get that strategic advantage. So, implication for management is basically that test success with CSR and financial performance has basically rapidly increased their market share. They have grown exponentially since they were created. And it's something that other companies are looking for, and they're wanting to emerge in that market as well. Toyota does really good in their global dominance. And as the world's largest automaker, Toyota should still expand further into the EV market. This will really help maintain its competitive position as other EV companies are coming out of the woodwork. Also, other traditional automakers are expanding into this realm. They want to remain on top. They need to remain competitive. The key takeaway basically is that CSR and sustainable practices are critical for long-term success. And global demand for sustainability transportation is only going to continue to grow. Strategic implications that both companies can take is that they need to continuously evolve and implement sustainable practices to stay competitive in a shifting market. So, continuously evolving to meet the needs of the world, to meet the needs of communities. This is important for both companies. And whatever approach they take, it will help them stay competitive. It will help them raise their market shares in both senses, in any sense they need to be raised. So, a summary of everything within this comparison is basically we can say that Tesla has pioneered EVs and they aim for complete sustainability through their electric vehicle lineup, their solar energy, and their battery storage solutions. So, they have got major success in this realm. Other companies are looking at the success and they're following it, they're copying it. They want that success too. They had really rapid success. They're in the S&P 500. They're a major corporation. And it really just shows that this is Tesla's impact. Their rapid growth has accelerated the shift towards sustainable transportation. Other companies that made basically traditional automobiles, such as Toyota, want this growth too. And they're realizing more and more that sustainable transportation is the future of automobiles and it's the future of the automotive industry as a whole. While Toyota is a global leader in hybrid vehicles, their gradual shift towards full electrification is slow, but they have been good at maintaining their diverse sustainability initiatives and still making strides in ways that are very good for sustainability practices. Despite different approaches in each company, they're both shaping the future of sustainability and transportation as a whole. And they can also learn from each other to enhance environmental and social impact, as well as their economic futures. So here I just have my resources that I used. Most of these informations came from the Tesla and Toyota websites, but other ones are from the graphs and everything that I was able to find. Here I have resources continued. Toyota was much better with providing information. Tesla did not have as much, I would assume because they're a much younger company. But that's where I had to kind of dive into other sources to learn a little bit more about Tesla as well. So this concludes my presentation on both. I personally learned a lot about each company. It was very interesting to see how they operate, to look a little bit more into the internal bits of everything that they had. And if there's any further questions, I'm definitely free to email or to answer comments or anything like that. But thank you very much for watching my presentation, and I hope everyone has a great day.